this.
What you're saying is not Scientific American says that. An editor for Scientific American says that, who no longer has the job. So don't indict a 170-year-old magazine because somebody.
Okay, this is called Scientific American.
So
why can't you
let's talk about science?
Why can't you just say this is not scientific and Scientific American should do better?
Well, does she still have her job?
Not because of this. I said the scandal is not her tweet.
Because that was like a year ago, was it? Which one was a year ago?
I think a year ago, women still couldn't beat men in basketball. Well, I'm going to file you under part of the problem.
So Neil Degrasse Tyson, you love to see it, went on Bill Maher this weekend and completely embarrassed himself. And it's funny, we used to call him the fake scientist on this channel, which I guess is kind of tongue-in-cheek. Yeah, he is technically a physicist, but the point was to illustrate to people that he should not be taken seriously, right? Just because someone is like a TV scientist doesn't mean that their views on politics or frankly anything else are remotely credible, because Neil Degrasse Tyson has always been a guy who, again, people view with credibility. They think he's so smart. He has a nice voice. He did a TV show about the cosmos or something. But when you break down what he actually says, when it comes to politics, when it comes to social issues, all he ever does is talk around in circles, make really dumb non-arguments, and ultimately like say nothing, but everyone's like, oh, he's so smart because he defended the woke and is frankly a coward because he won't even, say something completely scientific like there are biological differences between men and women. And this especially came up when Bill Maher tried to bring up this recent Scientific American scandal where they had to fire their editor. But then Bill talks about a story in Scientific American about a year ago that says that the differences between men and women in sports are not because of biology, but they are because of societal norms and equity, which is, of course, absolutely crazy. And you would think, again, if Neil deGrasse Tyson is such an esteemed scientist, he should be able to say, okay, that's kind of crazy, but he didn't. And Bill Maher, frankly, tore him apart for it. We're going to get into it, folks. So if you enjoy the content, be sure to hit that like button down below. Subscribe if you are new. Why should you subscribe? Because it ensures we can keep bringing you these videos. Hit that red button. And with that said, here's Bill Maher versus Neil deGrasse Tyson, and Neil just saying stupid nonsense as usual.
This is in Scientific American. Yeah. Inequity between male and female athletes is the result not of inherent biological differences between the sexes, but of biases in how they are treated in sports. That's nuts. And it sure ain't scientific, and that's why the Democrats lost the election.
Bill, every 20 minutes on your platform, you come up with another reason why the Democrats lost. No. You already have the answer. They lost the election. So anything you say is why they did it.
First of all, you don't watch this show, so you don't know that. I know you don't, and it's okay. But don't. And that's okay. Just don't bullshit me.
Yeah, so as you can see, even right off the gate, I don't know what it is. Maybe Neil deGrasse Tyson enjoys his role in the Hollywood sphere or something, but he already is trying to distract, right? He won't really address the point. And this is something Bill has been trying to nail him on for a while, which is like, as a scientist, why can't you condemn like men playing in women's sports, right? It should be pretty straightforward. And Neil already, again, like deflecting, but now take a listen as he, Bill is trying to get him to say something on this, and Neil deGrasse Tyson refuses, which is why we call him the fake scientist. Take a listen.
Engage with the idea here.
What you're saying is not Scientific American says that. An editor for Scientific American says that, who no longer has the job. So don't indict a 170-year-old magazine because somebody.
Okay, this is called Scientific American.
So
why can't you
let's talk about science?
Why can't you just say this is not scientific and Scientific American should do better?
Well, does she still have her job?
Not because of this. I said the scandal is not her tweet.
Because that was like a year ago, was it? Which one was a year ago?
I think a year ago, women still couldn't beat men in basketball. Well, I'm going to file you under part of the problem.
Yeah, so again, just to be clear on like the discussion that was going on here, if you're confused, we can't really play these clips in full anymore because they're pretty strict on copyright with his show. But Bill Maher is bringing up that Scientific American, published a report, study, article, whatever, saying that ridiculous thing about men and women's sports. And Neil deGrasse Tyson, as usual, like we said, he's such a freaking pseudo-intellectual. Like what he says never actually makes any sense. His excuse for that is what? His excuse is, well, Scientific American didn't publish that. Editor, they published it in Scientific American. Do you understand the point? Okay. But even then, I would say you are just trying to deflect ultimately, Neil. You really are. Because why can't you just go out and say, guys, that like men shouldn't be playing in women's sports? Okay, and that's not scientific. And the idea that there's no physical difference between them is not scientific. But always, as usual, as you can see, Neil deGrasse Tyson just tries to like talk around the point, and notice how nothing he will ever say will counteract or contradict the woke. And this is not the first time that Bill and Neil deGrasse Tyson have had this exact back and forth.
Surely there's a portfolio of jokes that would still work on a college campus. Surely.
I would hope not. From what maybe some college campuses, the ones you read about are fucking insane.
You've given up on an entire generation, and you don't know how to make them last.
I have given up on any place that doesn't even remotely attempt to believe in free speech, and thinks that anything that they hear that they don't like, that they don't agree with, is violence. These people are fucking nuts, and you should be calling them out. Somebody like you, who has standing with kids, should be not joining them.
When there's a science objectivity to it.
You're doing what parents do. You're taking the path of least resistance, and therefore hurting the kids and yourself. Parents ruin both their lives. They ruin their fucking spoiled kids' lives, and they ruin their own lives because the kids rule the roost. So that's what you're doing on a national level.
I'm feeling more like on the porch. Get off my lawn.
Really? I feel like we're in the barbershop.
Yeah, so this has been a long-standing pattern from Neil deGrasse Tyson, which really makes you wonder, is he really that woke, or does he just not want to piss off people in Hollywood? Does he not want to stand for the truth? Is he just a moral coward? Okay, because again, like, why can't you just say it's crazy that men and women don't have physical differences, and that's just because of societal inequity? Like, yeah, that's moronic, Neil, but you don't want to call it out. So instead you just make a bunch of different excuses for it. Why? Because he's the fake scientist. I don't know what else to say, but they also had a similar exchange on this show about a certain medical treatment that has been kind of controversial as of late. So take a listen to that. And once again, Neil deGrasse Tyson, as we're bringing up here, will just deflect and like not really address the point. Check it out.
The bear believes in vaccines, just being skeptical of all medical interventions, as everyone should.
Well, except, wait. 99 out of 100 medical interventions, you're not saying, I need a second opinion. If you have tuberculosis, you don't need a second opinion. If you break a femur, you don't get a second opinion.
Okay, right off the gate on that, yes, you do, Neil. Yes, you do. Yeah, people don't always bother to ask for a second opinion, but you would think if you have some type of severe life-threatening illness or injury, obviously, like, you get the immediate thing treated, but in terms of long-term, how should we treat it? How should we go forward? What's the best step? It's pretty common to get a second opinion, I believe, actually. Okay? Because one doctor might say, okay, we should do this type of surgery. Another doctor may say, okay, let's do a less intrusive surgery, and then you can just heal it naturally, just as an example there. So even on severe things, Neil, there are legitimate second opinions to have in science. Okay, there's usually like more than one treatment option for certain things, right? If you have some type of sickness, let's say COVID, let's say the flu, one doctor may suggest one medication for it, another doctor may suggest a different medication. That's how it works. So even on this front, I don't even know what he's talking about, but let's get now into the main point.
I'm trying to put credit back to doctors where our life expectancy is 3 times what it was 150 years ago. Yeah, science matters.
Of course it does.
But sometimes you don't sound that way. That's what worries me.
Well, you're the guy who doesn't understand why the NBA team can't beat the Lakers. So I don't know. You're supposed to be the scientist, and you couldn't even admit that. But this is not your field. You're not a doctor.
No, but I'm a scientist. Excuse me.
Yeah, that's not a doctor. When I get a goiter on Uranus, I'll call you.
Yeah, that was satisfying to watch, okay? Because Bill is absolutely right. When Neil deGrasse Tyson, correctly there, like, refuses to talk about men playing women's sports, right? He refuses to acknowledge that there is a biological, physical difference between men and women. Other people look at you as a scientist and say, why should we take you seriously? You're not a scientist, you're just an activist, okay? And as usual, what does Neil deGrasse Tyson do? He'll say a million things and never actually get to the point, okay? Just pure deflection. It's all it is from this guy. Okay, so frankly, props to Bill Maher for this show, because I don't agree with Bill's politics in certain regards, but it is always very satisfying to see Neil deGrasse Tyson get called out. Because the guy is, he may be good at physics, okay? He understands inertia better than me, okay? But when it comes to his opinions on literally anything else, the guy is not smart. The guy just assumes because he has a brain and a voice, he can just talk his circles around. So people are just like, wow, that was so intelligent, and not realize that he just makes really stupid arguments, okay? It doesn't make any sense. Neil, you're a woke activist. End of story. Fake scientist, we're gonna say it because he has no credibility on anything, okay? If you can't acknowledge that it's unfair to have men playing against women in sports, then I don't care, frankly, what you have to say about certain medical interventions or climate change or free speech or who the heck you're voting for in the election. It doesn't matter to me because you're a social activist. And yes, if you are going to kowtow, frankly, to the woke mob on the issue of gender in such an obvious way, why should we actually take seriously what you're saying about other things? Because how do we know your agenda on, let's just take an example, right? Climate change. How do we know you're actually touting what's studied by science and not still trying to do a social agenda on that? Point, guys, is this, okay? All of these so-called credible people in our society, whether it's journalists, scientists, etc., I'm not saying never listen to them. I'm not saying never take what they're saying into account, but it's important to understand everyone has certain intentions, everyone has a bias, and frankly, I think when it comes to our so-called neutral institutions today, it's obvious that they're highly political, and that's why I have no issue calling him a fake scientist, because I want to damage the credibility of people just blindly taking seriously what scientists, journalists, or quote-unquote experts in analysis have to say, because it's not always reliable. In fact, it's highly partisan, it's highly political, and good on Bill Maher for taking him to school. So with that said, guys, let me know your thoughts on all of this in the comment section down below. Be sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe if you are new, and until next time, God bless and peace.